awesome that I wanted to keep it stock for probably 30 seconds. When I was a kid, I tinkered with cars and such, and when I was in the Air Force, I tinkered with airplanes, and I got this, and I think I wanted to tinker with this. It's an awesome car. It's really and truly an awesome car, but you always want to do something else to it, whether it's just change out the wheels, or you put on a cold air intake, to get that whine you get from the supercharger, which I heard and I just fell in love with. When you do this, then you say all of a sudden, I say, well, maybe I can do that, and get a little bit more horsepower. Maybe I can add this to it and get a little bit better looks to it. I'm really just going with the flow here, really just to keep it going, and I just want to constantly do some modifications to it.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Saunier with the Triple D Directory.
And I'm Jake LaMotta from LaMotta Performance.
Guys, let me tell you, coming from two gearheads, this is the type of project we've been waiting to do. Our project code name is Midnight Run. Our goal for this project is to take this basically stock GT500, and we're going to try to take it to 700 rear wheel horsepower.
But at the same time, we want to retain stock drivability and still be able to run it on 93 octane fuel.
So Jake, tell me how this all came about. I mean, how did this whole project start?
I met Vic at one of the car shows. Obviously, you can tell why. All the bling under the hood.
It looks good.
It does. The car looks great. Right now, he's really looking to go fast, make a lot of power. His big thing he told me, he's like, Jake, car's got to run a 93 octane. It's got to have good drivability. If you don't have that in a street car, what do you have?
This is going to be a daily driven type car.
Definitely. Not a race car. We're just looking for a very, very fast punch car.
700 rear wheel horsepower should be fast enough.
That's right.
That's going to be awesome. What type of parts are we going to be using?
Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to dyno the car stock, see where the power level we're at right now.
Perfect.
From there, we're going to take the stock airbox out. We're going to install a JLT cold air kit with the SCT tune.
Carbon fiber, nice.
Carbon fiber. We're going to dyno the car, see what our power gain was from that with the SCT and the cold air kit. After we're done with that, we're going to move on to the exhaust side of the car. We're going to install a set of Cook's full-length headers with a high-flow catted X-pipe. After that, once again, the car is going to go on the dyno, see what our power gains are from that.
Nice. So incremental results we're going to be showing, not just one big long install and then just a number at the end.
We're going to know exactly what the car is picking up with each part we put on the car. Once we're done with the intake and exhaust system, we go to the best part of our project. We got the biggest, baddest blower they make for this car.
Nice. Whipple 3.4.
The Whipple 3.4.
Well, geez. Okay, between the Whipple 3.4 and the headers and the intake, we should be darn close to 700
We
rear
should
wheel
be pretty
horsepower.
darn close to 700 rear wheel horsepower on 93 octane fuel.
And we're going to be putting a Super Snake hood on this, aren't we?
Yes, Chris, we are going to be putting a Super Snake hood on it. Reason being is it's a big blower. Now, they have two ways of going about this. You could lower the engine, which we're not very fond of, or we put the Super Snake hood on it. And for the looks,
it's an awesome looking hood.
That's right.
It's gonna really cap off this car awesome. So, all right, so we need to get the car on the dyno and get a base pull.
We're gonna get it strapped down, get our baseline pulls, and get started on it.
Let's do it. Now remember, our goal for this project is to try to achieve 700 rear wheel horsepower, but we're starting with basically a stock vehicle. We've got the stock blower, it's got the stock pulley on it. We also have the whole entire stock air inlet system with the stock throttle body. So the first area that we're going to focus on in our install is going to be to remove this stock whole air inlet airbox system, and we're going to be putting on a JLT true cold air intake system, okay? So let's go over here and we're going to show you that JLT system. All right, guys, so here we have our JLT Performance True Cold Air Intake Kit. Now, we've taken the liberty to go ahead and put everything together here. Obviously, when it comes in the box, you've got your silicone couplings, you've got band clamps, and the first thing that kind of stands out, of course, is this carbon fiber. That is beautiful carbon fiber, guys. It's not the cheap plastic stuff. They've taken a lot of time to mold this, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. It's a big reason why a lot of people put this underneath their GT500 hood. The next thing down the line here, of course, is the JLT 110 millimeter. This is a true 110 millimeter inside, guys, MAF unit. And of course, it's got the slot style MAF pickup right there. Capping off the end of this assembly is a huge conical air filter, which should handle anything we throw at it. The last piece in this kit is basically your heat shield. It is an important part of a cold air intake setup, okay? So this heat shield is going to go down. This is actually going to sit right in here, and it's going to block most of the hot air from the engine compartment so this thing can do its job properly. Now, I want to show you guys something. Take a look at that. Now, it's a darn good thing this thing has no restriction, okay? Because I'm about to show you why. That's why. This is one humongous blower, the 3.4. That is going to be sucking, if you're not careful, they will suck in small children. Okay? So it's a darn good thing that we have this JLT cold air intake to handle this. Now I know what y'all are thinking. You want to hear about the results. When you install this kit with its required tuning, you're going to see anywhere from 60 to 90 rear wheel horsepower. That is huge, guys, just from an intake and a tune. Now, I'm sure after hearing that, you all are going to want to know where the heck to get one of these. The best thing to do is to go right on www.jlttruecoldair.com. Okay, these units sell for about $450. If you want the tune to come along with it that's already pre-programmed for it, that's going to cost you about another $400. So check out jlttruecoldair.com for one of these units.
We've got our Shelby all strapped down. We got it at operating temperature. We're gonna make 3 base runs just to see where our starting point is gonna be at before we install our JLT cold air kit.
That's got to be like one of the highest stock runs. I mean, I know the air is good, but good Lord. Well, wow.
They're Jersey numbers.
Guys, 400.
They're not Florida numbers.
These cars typically are anywhere from 400 on the low side to maybe a high of 430-ish, and that's on really good air. Now, granted, we've got some good air, but that very well may be the best stock dyno run that I've ever seen.
Why don't you click on the temperature so we can see what the temperature's at?
Yeah, where's the temperature?
Nope, yep.
Wow. Relative humidity, 27%. Wow.
Chris, I think we're gonna make over 500 with this JLT cold air kit.
Oh man, I mean, we've got one heck of a start. That's for sure. Jeez, 448.
Let's get this cold air kit on. Here's a perfect example of some of the GT500s.
Yeah, a normal benchmark run.
387.
400 and basically 390. We've
right.
got, geez, what's another one? Oh,
Nope, that's not mine stock.
This may be what they refer to as mine shaft air.
405,
Yeah,
394.
405, 394. All right, guys, so we've figured out if you want an extra 20 rear wheel horsepower and be ahead of everyone else, you got to go with the bling.
We've done our base runs. Now we're going to install our JLT cold air kit. First thing we're going to do is remove our strut tower brace. We've got 4 13mm nuts, so we're going to remove those now, get our strut tower brace off. Now that we've got our strut tower brace off, the next thing we're going to do is unplug our mass airflow sensor, breather to the valve cover. Got a little vacuum line on the back side. Now that we have those disconnected, we're going to move our 10mm nut that holds the airbox on. Then we're going to loosen up our clamp that holds the tube onto the throttle body. Then we're going to remove the assembly. Now that we have our airbox assembly out, the first thing we're going to do is remove our mass airflow sensor from the housing. Before we put our sensor in, you want to make sure there's no oil on it. A lot of times people put a K&N filter, oil the filter, which will get on the mass airflow sensor, will screw up the signal going to the computer. So once again, no oil on the air cleaner. You also want to look at the sensor itself. It is directional. We're going to take it, reinstall it into a JLT cold air kit. Before we install our cold air kit assembly, the first thing we're going to do is install our new shield. Bolt our shield down. Just remember, after getting your cold air kit installed, leave all the clamps loose until you have everything fitted, especially around the heat shield. After that, tighten all your clamps up. After we know they're all snug, after our clamps are tight, we're going to plug our mass airflow sensor back in. After that, we're going to reconnect our breather and then connect our vacuum on the back side. Now that we've installed our JLT cold air kit, the next thing we're going to do is download our SCT tune for the car, make another hit on the dyno, and see how much power we actually pick up.
Just to give everyone a little bit of perspective of what we're doing here, it's about 2 o'clock in the morning and it's about 40 degrees out, so that's why we're all shivering and we've got our jackets on. Hey, it's warm back here. Uncharacteristically cold for Florida. All right, I'm getting a little woozy. Picked up 45 foot-pounds of torque. I think that number, that number right off the bat was really high.
Well, man, it looks like we got where we wanted to be. We've got over 500 rear-wheel horsepower in those last 2 runs, and the torque went up to about 475 foot-pounds from 429. So we got a gain of 45, almost 46 rear-wheel torque, and we had a gain over 50 rear-wheel horsepower. Not too shabby, man. Not too shabby for a cold air intake and a tune.
On a stock car, it's pretty good. I guess what we're going to do now is unstrap the car, get up on the lift, and get those Cook's headers on here and see how much more we pick up.
Awesome. Let's get it done.
Let's do it. All right, we got the car on the lift. We're getting ready to install our Cook's long tube headers. Before we even think about getting a stock exhaust system off this thing, there's some things we have to address on top of the engine before we even get started. All right, first thing we do is disconnect the battery, which you should always do anyway, no matter what we're doing. In this case, we're going to be removing the battery and the battery tray because it's a little bit easier to get at some of the header bolts. Next, we're going to remove our battery tray. Next, we're going to remove our little crankcase breather filter we have here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove our JLT cold air kit. Put the whole assembly out. We're also going to remove our dipstick because we are going to have to remove our dipstick tube to put these headers on. Now we're going to remove the nut for the dipstick tube. We're just going to leave it loose until we get the manifold off and it'll fall right out. The next thing we're going to do is unbolt the EGR tube from the exhaust manifold, loosen it at the EGR valve so we can move it out of the way. It will make the header installation a lot easier to do. Now we're going to loosen up our EGR tube. You don't have to take it completely out. We're just going to loosen it up a couple turns just so that when the manifold's off, we can move the tube around to get it back on the headers. Now that we got that loose, let's remove the EGR tube. The next thing we're going to do is reach in the back of the engine and disconnect our O2 sensor, and that will come off with the cat pipe. Next thing we're going to do is loosen up our motor mount nuts. The next thing we're going to do is remove the other side, the motor mount nut. After removing the JLT cold air kit, the last thing we're going to do with that is just remove their heat shield. Next thing we're going to do is unbolt our steering shaft. After we have that out, we're going to remove our two 10mm bolts from the firewall for the bracket for the steering shaft. Next thing we're going to do is unbolt our top exhaust manifold bolts. Now we're going to remove the nuts from the driver's side manifold. Now that we have everything disconnected up top, we're going to get the car up in the air, remove the exhaust manifolds and the catted pipe. So let's get this thing up in the air. Now that we have the car up in the air, the next thing we're going to do is unbolt the factory X pipe with cats, take off the factory manifolds, remove the starter, and then get the headers up on this thing. So let's take the O2 sensors off. typically you just take the X pipe off, but in our case, Vic has a drive shaft loop, which we're gonna have to unbolt and remove, so this way we could slide the cat pipe back. So let's unbolt that. All right, we've unbolted the drive shaft loop, and pretty much what that's doing, it was blocking from our exhaust hangers from going back. So all we're gonna do is unbolt it, let it hang down. Now we're gonna pull our X pipe out. Now the X pipe's out, I'm just gonna put 2 bolts back in here so I don't bang my head and curse at my camera guy. All right, let's get these manifolds off. The next thing we're gonna do before we unbolt the driver's side motor mount is disconnect the steering shaft. After it's unbolted, we're gonna slide it off. And simply just push it, hopefully, into the car. It's gone. Now that we're done unbolting our driver's side manifold, we're going to pull it out. As you can see, this is your typical cast iron log style manifold. Log style means it's just one straight. Every cylinder is flowing into what they call the log. Funnels into this little tube out to the catalytic converter. Pretty heavy and pretty restrictive. Well, let's go through the rest of our stock stuff.
Hey everyone, Chris from Triple D back again here on Project Midnight Run. As you can see, Jake just got done taking off all the stock exhaust parts, and what we've done here is we've laid them out here on the table, mainly for comparison's sake. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to go over some of the obvious differences in these two setups, and then we're going to go over some of the other features and benefits of the Cook's long tube headers and the X-pipe setup, okay? Now, right off the bat, the first thing that you notice with the stock manifolds, you've got a log style manifold here, and basically what's going to happen is all of the ports are going into the log, and then they're all going to get bunched up at the end here. This usually causes a restriction. When you take a look at the comparison of the Cook's long tube headers, it's very obvious to see that you're going to have much more air flowing. You've got equal length tubes here. That's important for making nice, solid power. The other thing is these are 1 3/4 inch primary tubes. Those are huge tubes. Now I'm going to turn this around. There's 2 areas of importance here I want to show you. As you can see inside there, Cook's takes the time to put an awesome collector right in here. If you take a good look at that, helps smooth things out and move the gases even faster. The other thing I want to talk about is you've got a ball and socket type flange here that helps. Basically what that means is you've got a nice leak-proof design. All right, the next thing that we want to show you here on the table is, of course, the X-pipe. Now, huge visual difference. Look at the size here. These are 3-inch tubes here, okay? Of course, the stock unit is a 2.5-inch tube. Right off the bat, for anyone that has ever seen nice welds, and if you're into looking at craftsmanship with metal, it's hugely obvious when as soon as you take a look at a Cook system, all the welds are so beautiful. Everything is nice, awesome craftsmanship. There's nothing worse than having a set of headers on your car that you bought and you spent good money for, and you get them installed and the things leak and they're loud and they're raspy. No good. The Cook setups here, because of this ball and socket flange, that does away with it. We wanted you guys to be able to see a straight shot into here because I want to talk about these catalytic converters. This is a very important part of their X-pipe setup. So many of us live in areas right now where we need to have catalytic converters. Well, what Cook's does is they don't chintz on the cats, okay? These are high flow substrate cats. It's actually a spun design in there. Instead of the old style ceramic brick types, if any of you know what I'm talking about, the ceramic stuff can break kind of easy if you hit a hard bump or something like that. With these, you don't have to worry about that. The other pieces of parts that you get when you buy this as a kit with the X-pipe, the headers in the X-pipe, I like to show people these because a lot of times, this just goes to show you, Cook's doesn't chintz on anything, okay? These are very nice gaskets. They're felt on both sides, but there's a thin piece of metal that goes down the middle to help keep stuff together. Obviously, things get very hot. You need to have that for reinforcements. We're going to show you this because this is our harness extension. We now have an O2 sensor that's further away because of the long tubes than the stock one, so this is obviously needed. And then, of course, we've got all the bolts here. When you get a kit from Cook's, the stuff is complete and it's quality stuff, high quality stuff. Earlier, I asked Jake, who's been in business for 10 years, probably put on 1,000 sets of headers. I asked him one very simple question. Jake, what do you like about the Cook's headers and the exhaust systems? And he looked at me and he just kind of smiled. He said, Chris, They just fit. The Cook stuff, the welds are beautiful. It's a one-piece flange. He says, I never have issues. It's always nice and straight, and the stuff just works and fits. That's huge, guys. So rest assured that the installers that you bring into, when you hand them a Cook's headers or a Cook's exhaust system, they're gonna look at you and say, okay, cool. And that's a huge deal. You can go to cookscustomheaders.com. Now, Cook's is a manufacturer. They would like to sell their product through dealer channels. So one of the great dealers that carries this product is Jake LaMotta at LaMotta Performance. So you can also give him a call if you want to pick up a set of these headers plus the X-Pipe.